global temperature rises from burning fossil fuels is causing climate change, and humanity and nature are suffering increasingly severe consequences. It is desperately urgent that the world transitions quickly away from fossil fuels to keep further temperature increases to a minimum. As a global society, we currently use vast quantities of coal, oil and gas, which are often transported by sea. In new Tyndall Centre research for the International Chamber of Shipping, we assess what a transition which limited global warming to 1.5 degrees, in line with the Paris Agreement, would mean for the shipping industry. And there are challenges, but both opportunities too.
If we succeed, then by 2050, the global energy system will look very different. We'll use less energy. Many sectors, like road transport, will be electrified, with this electricity being generated from solar and wind rather than coal and natural gas. Overall, our fossil fuel consumption will decrease, and there will be increased consumption of low-carbon alternative fuels such as hydrogen and bioenergy. For the shipping sector, there will be two main consequences. The first will be a rapid decrease in the amount of fossil fuel products such as coal and gas being transported. The second will be an increase in the transportation of low-carbon fuels such as hydrogen and bioenergy, potentially as high as today's transport of coal and gas. But there is a big gap between 1.5 degree scenarios and what is happening right now.
One example is hydrogen. There's been a huge growth recently in plans for producing hydrogen using low-carbon methods, and these plans could deliver 24 million tonnes a year by 2030. But at least double that will be needed, and there's a big role for the shipping sector. Green hydrogen will be cheapest to produce in countries like Australia and Chile because they're abundant renewable resources, but these countries are distant from likely consumer markets in the EU and Asia, so shipping will be needed. Because hydrogen is a gas at room temperature, it'll be most economically efficient to convert hydrogen to ammonia and then ship it. The biggest market for this green ammonia this decade will be in existing fertiliser production, replacing fossil fuel-based production methods, before new uses for hydrogen and ammonia accelerate in the 2030s, such as in steel, aviation, and in ships themselves. A ramp-up of green ammonia shipments has big implications for the shipping sector. New port infrastructure will be needed, and building around 20 large ammonia carriers a year. But global ammonia trade is already well established, and such ship build rates have been achieved in the past.
Biggest barrier to the growth of the low-carbon hydrogen sector is that potential producers are uncertain they have a market and consumers are unsure they have guaranteed supplies. For governments in the shipping sector to address this, action is required in these 5 key areas. Firstly, government support for hydrogen production is required, such as the $3 a kilogram production credit introduced in the USA this year. Secondly, the implementation of government measures to increase consumer demand, such as mandates for increasing percentages of green hydrogen and ammonia used in the fertiliser and steel sectors. Thirdly, the introduction of long-term contracts connecting producers and consumers. Fourthly, the introduction of strong and enforced standards for hydrogen and bioenergy, making sure that production methods do not cause any extra emissions or damage other sustainable development goals, such as hunger or biodiversity. And finally, in collaboration with the energy sector, the shipping industry needs to scale up production of ammonia carriers and bunkering infrastructure and design these vessels to run on ammonia, to prepare the scale up for hydrogen-based fuels in the shipping sector itself.
The challenge couldn't be more urgent, but there are big opportunities too. If the shipping sector can energise faster growth in sustainable fuels, it will play a pioneering role in closing the gap between grand theoretical plans and a real world fit for future generations.